Thank you, Patrice. I will try to briefly summarize for you as the final presentation today our experience with regards to the issue of treatment prevention. We have taken advantage over the years of the International AIDS Society USA guidelines, which have been incorporated into our program on an ongoing basis since 1996. And so as a result of that, and really without planning it that way, we saw a very rapid phase of expansion of antiretroviral therapy use in the first year, 96 to 99 approximately. From 2000 to 2003, we had a period of steady state in the number of people on antiretroviral therapy. And as the guidelines changed in 2003, we saw a rapid expansion of antiretroviral therapy use in the province. This was prospectively negotiated with the government as we began a new phase of treatment and prevention in the province of British Columbia. As a result of that, we have seen a reciprocal decrease in mortality among people infected with HIV, and notice that this mortality has decreased further with a later expansion of treatment and prevention in the last several years. Morbidity has also similarly decreased in a reciprocal way. This is 8 new cases for British Columbia by year between 1996 and 2011. Data from 2012 is not yet fully confirmed, but the most recent report showed that they had declined further. Moving on to HIV new diagnosis, I'll remind you here, this is the line that illustrates the number of people on treatment, now going up to 2012. And what you see here on the purple, on my screen anyways, is HIV new diagnosis, which comes down reciprocally again to the number of people on treatment. That relationship is statistically highly significant. You see you treat more, you diagnose less, you reach a steady state, and there is a steady state in the number of people being diagnosed. You re-expand antiretroviral therapy program, and as the coverage goes up, the new diagnosis goes down. A new diagnosis is an imperfect surrogate for HIV incidence, and as you are probably well aware, there is no definitive gold standard to transform new diagnosis into HIV incidence. We have plotted here the Public Health Agency of Canada independently generated estimates of HIV incidence for the province of British Columbia. This is data that is being done independently by the PHAC on an ongoing basis, and it shows basically that the trends are basically the same in relationship to the expansion of antiretroviral therapy. So again, reciprocal changes. You treat more, you diagnose less, and the more you treat, the less you diagnose. And this is despite the fact that we every year increase the number of people that are being tested in the province. I highlighted for you here new HIV diagnosis in individuals who have been ever reported as injection drug users. This is a typically hard to reach population that in some circles is been neglected in terms of access to antiretroviral therapy. I just wanted to illustrate for you the fact that the same pattern can be seen in injection drug users. Now, to give you a sense of what this means for the province of British Columbia, prior to 1996, we were diagnosed in the order of 850 to 900 cases of HIV per year. If you now follow that line here, you see that in the year 2012, we have diagnosed 238 cases. In other words, there are 600 missing HIV diagnoses every year as a result of this at the present time, which is a very good news. Among injection drug users, we were diagnosed in the order of 400 cases per year prior to 1995. What you see here is a remarkable decrease, 29 cases diagnosed in the last year. We have data for 2012. That's greater than a 90% decrease in HIV new diagnosis among injection drug users, something that is quite remarkable. If we move now to monitoring and evaluation, the first challenge is that every piece of data that we are going to use needs to be anchored to a solid number. And the truth is that the best number should be the number of people infected with HIV living in a particular region, or the prevalence of HIV. And this number is problematic because, as you know, there is a number of individuals who are HIV infected and diagnosed. So what I show you here is the independently produced PHAC, Public Health Agency of Canada, estimates for the province of British Columbia, which we may or may not agree with. Regardless of that, I'm showing you here HIV diagnosed cases to illustrate the point that whatever else is going on, we are confident that the number of people we are diagnosing is shrinking the number of estimated HIV undiagnosed individuals, which is also a very positive development. At the other end of the spectrum, the other key metric that we want to follow is the number of people who are suppressed, virologically suppressed. And this is, again, another tricky metric. And until we come up with a true consensus globally, what is the way that we're going to define this metric, you're going to find that different programs are going to report different rates of suppression. And to illustrate this, I give you longitudinal rates of suppression for the province as a whole, involving all HIV-infected individuals, whether or not they are on antiretroviral therapy. I'm showing you here how the trends have improved, but you see several lines, and basically what this is telling you is that depending how you define viral suppression, you can get from a low estimate somewhere in the high 30% to a high estimate somewhere close almost to 60% of people being suppressed in the province. I highlighted for you the differences here, basically saying that with a definition of at least one viral load less than 500 for any client in the program, the suppression levels reach 56% of those diagnosed, in contrast to 48% of the infected. And so depending how you define the level of suppression and what you use as your denominator, those numbers are going to vary significantly. I don't really want to argue whether it's one better measurement than the other. As long as we're all using the same measurement, we would be able to compare things. I think a better way to illustrate those data is to do it in the way we've done it here. This is akin to a frequency distribution of viral load ranges in the province. And so what you have is the suppressed patients on the black, the high viremic over 50,000 copies patients on the top. This includes people who are on treatment and people who are not on treatment, including all of the viral loads that are done in the province. They are all centralized. They all come to a single laboratory, so we know we have 100% capture. And then you have intermediate numbers of individuals here with low, intermediate, and relatively high viral loads. I think this gives you a better sense of what's going on. It's much more difficult to compare between programs, and that's the reason why the previous metric is appropriate to compare among programs. If you want to be even more precise in terms of how you describe the population, then you want to include in this graph, and to be conservative, to include it in the high viremic individuals, the 20% or so individuals that are HIV undiagnosed. And I think that this would give you a much better sense of what is the challenge ahead of you in terms of trying to move the black section upwards as much as possible. Again, this is the kind of work that we do to internally gain an understanding of what the dynamics of HIV suppression are in the province over time. We heard about the Cascade of Care from a number of my colleagues. This is the work that we've done to characterize the Cascade of Care in the province of British Columbia on a longitudinal basis. And I think that this is an important additional piece of the puzzle because it really helps you to see where the gaps are, and therefore it helps you to redirect services to the areas that are most in need. Now, the Cascade of Care has been looked at as a single kind of metric or entity, and I just wanted to illustrate for you here that we're going to have to get much more sophisticated at looking at the Cascade of Care, stratifying it by region, stratifying by gender, by age, and ultimately doing multivariate analysis to try to identify where the pockets are that need to be attended to. To illustrate graphically the problem, you see here the 5 health authorities in the province of British Columbia, and I don't need to do a statistical analysis to illustrate the fact that health authority number 5 has a significant problem. So if we're going to try to address some of the concerns, it'd be very wise to use this data to direct where the efforts need to be going. Cascade by gender, We find this a good way to illustrate the cascade. Here you have the typical cascade, and then on the shadow, on the pink shadow below, you have the percent loss from the previous stage. So it gives you a very quick way of estimating where the problem areas are. You have it here for the whole of the cascade, and now stratified by women and men. And you can see that there are different behaviors. And so this already tells you that it's not only geography, but there are going to be issues that relate to subgroups within the cascade. If you look at it stratified by age, for example, you find that we have a problem with younger HIV-infected individuals. And so I'm just illustrating this to give you the sense that looking at the cascade by itself may not be the most efficient way of doing business. We're going to have to tease it out, try to find out exactly where the issues are. My colleagues were talking earlier about quality of care. I want to introduce for you a new metric that we have developed. In fact, it was developed by Viviane Diaz-Lima, our senior statistician, and we call it the Programmatic Compliance Score. I think this is an interesting way of looking at things because what we've done here, without going into all of the details, is to use the monitoring guidelines embedded within the IAS USA guidelines and basically dichotomize them into what is that you should be meeting and not. And so for each PCS or Programmatic Compliance Score component, if you don't meet that component, you get a point. And then when we look at this in a comprehensive way in the program, we find that you have people who meet all of the guidelines, monitoring guidelines, who have a programmatic compliance score of 0. And if you use the survival in that group as a reference, you find that the greater the number, therefore the less the compliance with the monitoring guidelines, the odds ratio for death, premature death, increases progressively all the way to 22-fold. This is highly significant, and it really adds a quality dimension to the monitoring of the cascade of care. And you can monitor this actually over time, and you can monitor the groups and use these to inform your clinical team where progress is being made and where progress needs to be made in terms of enhancing compliance with the monitoring guidelines. Now, we all understand that the compliance with the monitoring guidelines is a sort of a bit of a, the ultimate result of the partnership between the healthcare system and the individual, and so everything else, the environment that we generate to facilitate compliance with the guidelines is going to be critical to the successful of this effort. So I guess my summary slide is shown here. I like to refer to it as treatment prevention monitoring in the real world. We're using sort of everyday daily variables to try to get an understanding of what is actually going on. And while in a perfect world, we would hope that people would move through the cascade of care swiftly and stay adherent and suppressed on a long-term basis, we recognize that this is a challenging process, and therefore a very tight and close monitoring of it will be essential for us to understand where the attrition points are and what we can do about it. Ultimately, we feel that this can only be achieved by comprehensively monitoring standardized metrics on a longitudinal basis and accounting for multiple sources of bias and heterogeneity, whether it's geographic, socio-demographic, risk factors, and you can prolong that list as much as you can, because certainly there are many other issues that contribute to that. If you're interested to learn more about some of this work, I'll bring to your attention the proceedings from the 3rd International Treatment and Prevention Workshop that was conducted in April. The report is available at the website that is listed here, and I remind you that we will have a new iteration of the workshop April 1st to the 4th of next year in Vancouver. Thank you very much.